Hello,
warm
everybody.
welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's totally our pleasure, Peter. Okay. I'd like to invite our Mumbai chapter president, Sweta Sachdev, to give the introduction. Sweta, over to you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Meghna. A very good afternoon. And a warm welcome to our guest, Mr. Peter Gustafson, mentor Bishnu Dhanukaji, and all my fellow members. Peter, I think you know about Millennium Mans, but I would still introduce us to you, right?
Sure.
We are a Kolkata-based nonprofit organization. We're dedicated to empowering women through financial literacy since 1993. Founded by our visionaries, Mr. Bishnu Dhanuka and Mr. Sanjay Bhavania. We aim to help women understand money, build confidence, and achieve financial independence. What started small has now grown into a global community with members across 23 countries. Inspired by Warren Buffett's investment philosophy, members learn everything from balance sheets to global economic trends. And as Meghna just mentioned, in 2019, we proudly represented India as the largest women investors group at the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholders meeting in Omaha. As Warren Buffett said, someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. And we are planting the seeds of financial literacy and empowerment that will shade future generations. And now, our guest for today, Peter Gustafson, a Danish investor, a former business journalist, founder of Prospect Family Office, and author of The Business Investor, The Warren Buffett Path to Your Financial Freedom, a book which is born from 2,200 hours of writing, 15 years of market-beating returns, and his annual lectures at the Genius of Warren Buffett seminars in Omaha, which is attended by Berkshire directors and members of the Buffett family. From an early age, Peter was surrounded by books and developed a love for reading and numbers. Coming from a family of business owners, he was deeply influenced by that environment, which helped him shape his philosophy. Think like an owner, invest like an owner. In 2007, Peter read The Intelligent Investor, and as he says it clicked right away. That moment led him to close his 15-year consultancy and become a full-time co-owner of multiple businesses through the stock market. Peter's investment philosophy is also rooted in clarity of thought and independence. He advises you have to spend a lot of time alone. To live by this principle, he avoids watching the market during opening hours and instead takes a daily 2-hour walk in the forest to think clearly and reflect deeply. It is my pleasure to invite Peter for his keynote address. We are excited to hear about your book in your own words. Meghna Bajoria will moderate the Q&A session after your talk. Over to you, Peter.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your program. I'm really honored. And thank you very much for a very, very kind introduction. Let me start by giving you a little bit background about who I am as a person, because I think that is very, very important when you talk about business and talk about investing. I was born and raised in a wonderful family with very good values. And I think the values that you bring with you from your parents or your family are extremely important if they are good values. And if it's a situation where the values are not so good, a lot of people have to struggle in their younger years to try to get rid of the bad values and implement good values. So I was fortunate and had very good values with me since I was a kid and a child. The second thing I would like to emphasize is that I come from a family of business owners, both on my mom's side and my dad's side. We were business owners, not big businesses, kind of mom and pop businesses. So we all knew that one of the most important thing was you were able to take care of yourself and you were able to support yourself and support the family. And doing that, you also learn that life has ups and downs, and I think that is one of the most important things you can learn as an investor also, that there are situations, investments that go wrong. It's part of life. It's part of investing that things go wrong sometimes. And during my younger years, I was only about 13 or 14 when I was on a skiing vacation in Norway, and I kind of made my own life plan, and that life plan was something that I'm quite proud of because it was actually built on learning. I knew from a very young age that I would like to live my life learning, so I put learning before earning. So during my student years, I studied business in Copenhagen Business School and graduated with a degree in a master in finance. And then I started as a journalist. And that was simply because as a journalist on the leading Danish newspaper, I was able to call all the big CEOs of Danish companies and Nordic companies and ask them any kind of question I wanted. So I got some kind of VIP education from CEOs of big companies in Denmark, the Nordic region, and so on. And I later became the business editor of the newspaper. And then I worked like crazy. So in 1996, I founded my own business, the Prospect business, as a consultancy where I advised, or my company advised CEOs and boards of listed companies, private equity, global private equities doing business in Denmark and so on. And I built a lot of business understanding. So in 2006, I decided that it was time for me to move on. And instead of owning one business, I would like to be a co-owner of a number of businesses. And that was actually my entrance into being an investor. And that's why we're sitting here today. Because I realized that just like if you play soccer or you play cricket or you do any kind of sports, if you are a young person, what do? You try to imitate the best in the world in your sports. So I said to myself, I'm not a soccer player, so I don't want to imitate Ronaldo or Messi or anybody like that. I want to be a good investor, so who should I imitate? And Buffett came right up. So I said, if Buffett is the best investor in the world, why don't I learn as much as I can from Warren Buffett? It was such a simple no-brainer for me that he was the most successful investor for decades. So I had to study him. And it was quite easy to study Warren Buffett because he made his annual letters. There were already a lot of books written, and he had his all his inspiration from Benjamin Graham. So I could read The Intelligent Investor and other books that Graham has written. So it was quite easy for me. So I just started, and I spent 2 years building my investing platform, trying to build Warren Buffett's investment universe or platform in the Nordic region, and it was quite successful. So in 2009, I finally left my consultancy business and I became a full-time investor. And I've been traveling to Omaha ever since. And slowly I became integrated into the Buffett universe, started to give presentations, started to talk with the Buffett people, started to talk with other of the investors circling the family and Omaha. And since 2000, I think it was 17 or something like that, I've given the final presentation every year on the seminar called The Genius of Warren Buffett, where I kind of present under the title using Warren Buffett's principles, how to put it all together for the investor. And that is the foundation for my book, actually. That is how my book is built. It's built on doing it systematically, step by step, going through how do you do it as an investor. And the interesting thing is, there's not a big difference between being an investor in listed companies and an investor in non-listed companies. The only difference between owning a listed company or part of a listed company or part of or 100% own a non-listed company is there's a share price. Everything else is more or less the same. And what you learn quite fast is not to look at the share price, but to look at the returns and the earnings of the company and say, what kind of returns do I want? So going into the book and going into why we're sitting here, what I did was actually influenced and inspired by Robert P. Miles, who has written the foreword of my book and who is the dean of the Genius of Warren Buffett in Omaha and a very good member or friend of the Buffett family. He said, Peter, why don't you write this book and think about it as an update of The Intelligent Investor. The Intelligent Investor was written in 1949. It was the inspiration for Warren Buffett. It was why he retriggered his mind.
A to
and
Z तो
started-
विटामिन है
So I did that. I sat down and I said, I want to do an update on The Intelligent Investor. So I started out, that's the first part of the book, with the three basic principles from Benjamin Graham: the margin of safety, thinking like a business owner, and Mr. Market. And if those are your foundation, then I put Warren Buffett's investment principles on top. And it was not very difficult, because if you look at Warren Buffett, what does he talk about? He talks about the moat all the time. The moat, a great business has a moat. So how do you define that? How do you look at a business? How do you find out if it's a great business? How do you find out if it's a sustainable great business? So that's another part of the book. And the second thing about Warren Buffett is that he is very focused on excellent management. And what is excellent management in Buffett terms? It's first of all an ability to allocate capital rationally. And the second thing is to constantly work on improving the moat, or improving the product, improving the services, improving the operations, improving everything a little bit every day. So that's the next part of the book. And the last part of the book, which is the groundbreaking part, is that I have actually written a part of the book about Warren Buffett's hurdle rate, his investment hurdle rate, explained in his own words. It's very simple. Warren Buffett wants at least a 10% return on his money, real return, which means that he normally goes for 10% before tax. So if the company makes, let's say, 1 billion or 100 million, then he wants to pay no more than 10 times that. And then he wants a growth in the company that at least matches the inflation rate. Probably he prefers a little bit higher growth than the inflation rate. So it's a kind of real return. And if you have all of that, you have the margin of safety, you have thinking like a business owner, you have Mr. Market in your head. That's Benjamin Graham. Then you have great businesses defined by high return on capital, good growth, sustainable moat, and then you have efficient management, excellent management defined by focusing on operational efficiency, focusing on rational capital allocation, and you have a good hurdle rate. You want big, good return on your money. Then you kind of have it all. And the last thing is, of course, you as an investor, which is also one of my presentations in Omaha, the analysis of yourself as an investor. And then you put it all together slowly, step by step, and it just takes a lot of time. So that's kind of the introduction to the book, my background, and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, and it's a wonderful job, and I meet a lot of great people, all of you people. It's wonderful, and my aim when I wrote the book was not to make money. I'm not here to make money on the book. I'm here to try to help as many people as possible improve their investment skills and release their full potential. So based on that, I am open for any kind of question you guys want to ask, and a good conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. That was really engaging and thought-provoking. I must say, I am really enjoying this book, The Business Investor. It's one of those books I feel one should keep rereading it from time to time. And what stood out for me was the clarity of thought and the way you brought the focus back to the fundamentals from moat to margin of safety and all the others. And it reminds us what truly matters in investing. So thank you so much for sharing those insights with us today. Our members have loads of questions, own question. So as Mr. Warren Buffett has famously said, that I am a better investor because I'm a businessman and a better businessman because I'm an investor. And Peter, you have experienced both sides, building a business and investing. So what in your view distinguishes those who truly think like business owners and from those who remain market focused, and how can one develop that mindset?
A good question. And it's actually one of the toughest challenges for a lot of people to start thinking like a business owner. I know very few people who has not been a business owner who are actually able to think like a business owner. For me, it was quite simple because I'm born and raised in a business family on my mom and dad's side, and I started and ran my own business. So I was born as a business owner when I started investing. Most people start the other way around. They start as employees. Very often they start as employees and they start having some savings, and then they go into investing some of those savings, and then they become investors that way around. And that's a totally different ballgame. What I think is the most important thing becoming a business owner and thinking like a business owner is actually to stop being controlled by the market. That's the first step. Even I, after all these years, have to structure my life in such a way that I am not influenced by the market. It might surprise you, but I haven't looked at the share price of my portfolio for more than a month.
Wow.
For more than a month, I haven't been looking at the share prices. I don't know what the share
Despite
price
the
of my.
war and everything, that's
I
amazing.
don't look at it.
Wow.
I have decided to look at it only when there's new releases from the company. When there's a quarterly result or a press release or whatever, I look at the share price. And then I only look at the companies that I am either thinking about buying into, because if the share price comes down to where it's attractive for me, where it fulfills my hurdle rate,
Right.
or the other way around, when a share price is so high that I am thinking about departing from the company. But my basic portfolio, I look at very, very seldom. So if you look at your share prices every day, I will bet you that you are more or less controlled by the market, because it does influence you. And no company really changes any kind of value, intrinsic value, over a day or 2 days. Some companies at the moment might have changed or have a different intrinsic value today if they are related to the oil industry. Of course, I understand that. But if you have a software company or a retail company or a normal industrial company operating in some part of the world that is not influenced by the Middle East or what's happening there, nothing has changed. So that's one thing. I really stay away from the market. The other thing is that when I look at a company, I always study very intensely what has management done over the last 5 years. Because a business can be a fantastic business, and that's much easier to understand if you can understand the moat. The business is easier to understand than management. And that is why I think it was Peter Lynch said that you have to buy a business that's so strong and so stable that even an idiot can run it, because one day an idiot will run it, right? So understanding the business and understanding management are two different things. Very important. The last thing I do is that I spend most of my time reading, just reading everything that relates to business. And I like studying big failures. And I prefer studying big failures that I'm not invested in. Uh, so those are some of the things that you can do to improve your business thinking or business investor thinking. The last thing I do, and it's also explained in the book, you can build your own group, your own portfolio by saying, I have, let's say you have investments in, let's say, 5 different companies. So what is, if you accumulate all the turnover of your share of the companies, your operating income, your basic, your net income, how much free cash does my group have? And then you kind of start thinking like you own a number of income streams, and you build your own little group, which is also some of the things I do. Besides that, I think there are 2 things you have to learn as a business owner, which is probably, first of all, it takes time, and you have to be very patient. Nobody can build a big company in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So patience is a very important thing. Yeah.
Those are great pointers. Thank you so much, Peter. I'd now like to invite Nidhi Kanoy with her question, please. Nidhi.
Hi, Peter. Good morning to you. You did mention some of the principles of Buffett that you've written about in the book as well. But what do you feel if Buffett were to invest today? What core principles would he still follow, and which ones would he ignore?
Buffett,
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that all investors, including Buffett, evaluate or develop as an investor or a business owner through a career. You have to develop or evolve as a person because the world changes. And I think for Buffett, it's very simple to see his most important investment principle. If you read his annual report that came out not long ago, he has like $300 billion, something like that, in cash. It's an enormous amount of money. And there's been a lot of discussions why he has so much cash. Some people have said that he wanted the successor, Greg Abel, to have a lot of firepower when he took over, which he did.
Yes.
Some people said that when Buffett stepped down as a CEO, the share price would decrease. So they wanted to have a lot of cash to buy back shares. The only reason why Buffett has so much cash on his balance sheet is that he hasn't been able to find investments that fits his hurdle rate. He has simply not been able to find investments, and we talk about big companies, that gives him a 10% real return before tax. No chance. And he has said that in 2003, in the annual meeting 2003, he said, it might be periods where the share prices and the market is so expensive that you will not be able to find anything to invest in. But that is when you have to be patient. And I bet you, he said, that over the years, you will find periods of time where you will be able to invest at these levels of return. What I think is one of the areas where we've had a lot of discussion in Omaha about Warren's ability to develop as an investor is that he has been very, very faithful to his own principle of almost only investing in United States.
Yes.
And as United States is one of the most expensive markets in the world, that has diminished his investment opportunities. over the last years, he has made investments outside the United States. I think you all know that he made investments in Japan, in five big companies in Japan. He also, some years ago, bought a big Israeli company called Ishkar for about $4 billion, I think it was, when he bought the company. And he has made a few investments and bolt-on investments around the world. But basically, he has been very faithful to investing all his money in the United States. And that is because of another very, very important principle of Warren Buffett. He always invests inside his circle of competence. And he defines the United States as his circle of competence. And he has an enormous competence investing in the United States. So he will rather stay inside his circle of competence than start investing in other geographies of the world, because he doesn't know the culture, he doesn't know the business as well. So those are some of the principles that he is very faithful for.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Can we have Pooja Narang, please? She's a member from Hong Kong, sir. Peter.
Good morning, Mr. Peter. Thank you so much for being here today. Peter, I had a question on one of Buffett's philosophies, which is buy and hold forever. In an age of today, which is, there's a lot of rapid technological disruption and intense global competition. We see, technically the duration of competitive advantage reducing in companies. So in a day like today, does this philosophy still hold?
You have to understand the reason why Buffett says buy and hold forever. It doesn't fit his investments in listed companies. If you look at it, Buffett invests, he buys and sells shares in the stock market. He bought a lot of shares in Apple, you all know that, and he has sold some of the shares in Apple. So he buys and sells listed companies on a regular basis. The reason why Buffett has this philosophy or this statement, buy and hold forever, is that is what is relevant for him buying a whole company. When he buys a full company, 100% of a company, he has this philosophy of buying and hold forever. And the reason for that is actually more psychologically than it's something else. Because a lot of the businesses that Warren Buffett has bought over the years are family-owned businesses or founder-based businesses. And you have to understand how a founder thinks. When he has started building a business and it becomes his baby, he wants his baby to marry somebody good. So if Buffett had said, I buy these businesses and I sell them again 5-10 years later, a lot of the companies that he has actually been able to buy would never have sold to him, because founder wants his business to end up in a good place, in a good family, so to speak. And if he had done that, buy and sell wholly owned businesses, he would have been more or less like a private equity group. Buy, hold it for 7 years, develop it, sell it again. So the reason why Buffett has this buy and hold is only because he wants to attract family-owned businesses, and they will only sell to him if they know that he will keep the company forever. It has a lot of disadvantages also, as you mentioned, because one of the disadvantages of holding or owning a company forever is that forever might only be 5 years or 10 years if the development in an industry is so fast that it evaporates. So you're absolutely right. It has consequences, and he doesn't do it in the listed market. So it's a two-side way of thinking. Good question.
Thank you very much, and thank you for explaining that so very well.
Thank you.
Can we have Shalini Singhania with the next question, please?
Good morning, Peter. Thank you
Good
so
morning.
much for the lovely
you.
insights, Peter. This is what our mentor also teaches us, and in a very similar manner. So thank you for reaffirming all the affirmations that he keeps giving us. Now, my question, Peter, that in your framework, what are the three most important signals that a business is truly investable rather than just being popular in the market?
First of all, the most important thing for a business is if it's a great business, is that it has high return on capital, that it's able to really return a lot of money on the capital that's invested in the operations. It's just like a bank account, as I used to mention. If you have a bank account that gives you a 3% interest, that's not very attractive. But if you have a bank account that gives you 15%
Right.
on your money every year, and sometimes even grow those 15% to 15, 16,
Higher
18,
and higher.
like that.
Right.
So that is the most important characteristic of the business. The second most important characteristic of a business is that you have to look at the structure of the industry. How many competitors? What's the landscape? And here is a little insight about great businesses. There are two ways of having very attractive businesses. One is, of course, that you have a company that grows very, very fast, like Meta, like Google did some years ago, or whatever. I mean, you open up a blue ocean and you build a fantastic business and you have the whole market for yourself. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Everybody can understand it. It's difficult to invest in those and find them and understand them, but that's, of course, a great investment. The other thing is that if you are in an industry where you have good return on your capital and the market structure is very stable.
Okay.
That is a very important characteristic of an industry. How fast does market shares change hands in an industry? And if you look at just to give an example, the automobile industry, I mean, we all know that Chrysler is there, General Motors is there, Ford is there, Mercedes, whatever is there. But if you look at it over a decade or two decades, the market share changes a lot. And also, every year, the model of each car changes a little bit. So they have to re-engineer the production facilities every year. It's impossible to make great returns on those kind of industries because the changing parts of the industry is so fast. So a stable industry with stable market share, high return on capital is something to look for.
Thank you.
The last thing has nothing to do with the business. The last thing is that you have to think down the road. You have to think 10 years out, say, how will this industry look 10 years from now? Will it be the same? It's what I call in the book megatrends. You have to spend time really thinking about how will this industry develop over 10 years' time. And that is actually one of the reasons why Warren Buffett has always said that he doesn't do any kind of IT investments because he simply has decided, I don't know how the IT industry will develop over the next 10 years. And he has, of course, missed a couple of very, very big opportunities. And 1 year at the annual meeting, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett discussed internally that they actually understood Google. They understood Google very well. And they were all some of the companies inside the Berkshire Hathaway group were big customers in Google. So they had all the opportunity to understand Google, but they missed it simply because it was an IT company.
Right.
And you remember that some years ago, Buffett invested a lot of money in Apple.
Apple.
And
Absolutely.
it was not because Buffett himself had an iPhone. It was because he spends quite a lot of time with his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and they all had their iPhone in their hand when they were talking with the Oracle of Omaha. So Buffett understood that this product they were holding in their hand was much more important than he was, and so that was how he actually understood that he should should buy that. So he has developed a little bit.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
We have Ekta Jain from Delhi for the next question, please.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
My question was, in investing and business, outcomes often get confused with decision quality. Like, how do you personally evaluate whether a decision was truly good, even if the result wasn't?
It is true that sometimes you make the right decision and it leads to a bad result. And I guess it happens for all of us, not only in business, but also in life. Um, um, what you do is that you, first of all, of course, you have to collect all the information you need to take the decision. And if you take decisions based on only half the information that are available for you, so you take your decision before you really have the full picture, that is a characteristic of some people. A lot of people actually take fast decisions without having the full amount of information in front of them. They don't have the patience. They don't have the characteristics or the personal character that I don't want to take a decision before I have all the information. For whatever reason, they need to take that decision too fast. That's one thing. So if you have all the right information and you look at the information and you say, this is my conclusion, then you might end up with the wrong conclusion and make the wrong decision. That's a human reality. We all make wrong decisions or wrong conclusions from time to time based on all the information that's there. Fine. What I do personally, besides that, is I always measure myself against myself. I never measure myself against the market or somebody else. And I look at everything about how I work, how I live, how I behave. And I say to myself, I measure myself against myself. Have I done the best I could in this situation? Have I really done everything possible to collect the information, if it's an investment decision or whatever it is in life? Have I done the best I could? If I have done the best I could and I come up with a poor result, it's okay. It's absolutely okay to fail. As a human being, it's absolutely okay to fail. And you should allow yourself freedom to fail, because those failures are very important stepping stones for your future success. Yeah, I think that's more or less my answer.
I think it's more about analyzing how well we have understood and taken a decision after enough analysis or not. That's yeah. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is beautifully explained, Peter. I'd like to invite Prerna Sethia for the next question, please.
Hi, Peter. Good afternoon. So, sir,
Hi.
Peter, right now you were talking about legacy business and long-term investment. But currently, with this generational spending and consumer consumption pattern changing so frequently, how do you tell that if a legacy brand is actually widening its moat, or is it just becoming a value trap? Like, what's your views?
So you talk about brands, legacy brands.
Right, right. And the change in the quick change in the consumer spending, the spending power actually, pattern.
Yeah. When it comes to brand products or fast-moving consumer goods or whatever we talk about, one of the couple of the most important factors in understanding that world is when we talk about brand products, is it a product that you buy repeatedly? So you buy it again and again and again, like toothpaste or whatever branded product it is. That's important. Or is it a branded product that you buy once every 5 years, like a handbag, a female handbag from Gucci or whatever it is? It's not something you buy every month. I guess not, at least.
Yes.
Yes.
So the frequency of your purchase of the branded product is extremely important. when you talk about how fast things are moving. And the more frequently you buy a product, the better it is for the branding company. The second thing is that very, very few brands have more than 50 years history. Very many brands
Yes.
die out within
Yes.
5 years, 10 years,
Yeah.
50 years. I mean, think about it. If you sit down and try to find 5 brands that are more than 50 years old, and you are looking at the apparel industry or the personal accessory industry or whatever, it's very difficult to find
Very difficult.
those. One of the brands that you can say is in very fast-moving consumer goods is this retail company called H&M, you know, Hennes and Mauritz,
Yes.
H&M,
Yes. Yes.
which is a Swedish company.
Yes.
I'm in Sweden, maybe it's a good company to talk about.
Yes.
I mean, they, for many years, had a wonderful branded business. It was the cheapest place to go and buy clothes. It was fashion clothes, and they had good margins, and they grew like 10, 15% per year and made good returns. And until I think it was about 2012, 2013, suddenly they started descending. And they have descended a lot, and they close every year. They close now big stores and shops and so on. And why is that? It's simply because the structure of the industry has changed, and they are not able to compete with the internet and where you buy clothes and whatever it is. So, I mean, maybe in 10 years, H&M will be gone, or at least descending into something very small. A fast-moving consumer good industry is the only area where you really have a lot of competitive edge or a moat in those industries where there are a lot of competition is if you are a low-cost producer. If
Okay.
you're able to produce the prices lower than anybody else, because then you're able to compete. But a lot of branded companies we know of today will not exist in 10, 15, 20 years.
Yes. Yes. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Peter. Quite insightful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before I invite the next member for a question, Peter, let's do a quick rapid fire, just short, instinctive answers from your end.
Let's go.
Yes. So, journalist or business owner, what shaped you more?
Journalist.
Great. One CEO you interviewed who left a lasting impression.
The chairman of the big global company, facility management company called ISS, who taught me a lot about doing your best, doing your best.
One word that defines great investing.
Patience.
Yeah. One red flag in management you never ignore.
When new management wants to build a new headquarters.
Nice. Circle of competence. Keep it narrow or keep expanding.
Depends on your personal character as a person.
One book every investor must read, besides your own, of course. You can't see the best business investor.
I would say The Intelligent Investor still, even though it's so old.
Fantastic. And last question. If Warren Buffett was watching this, what's one thing he'd agree with you on instantly? Like he'd immediately agree with you about it.
The hurdle rate.
Hurdle rate. Great.
Never
Thank
be unfaithful to your hurdle rate. Never be unfaithful.
Thank you. That's powerful. Thank you, Peter. I'd now like to invite Vaishali Please come in with your question.
Yeah, good afternoon, Peter. So you like you just mentioned about the hurdle rate. Could you highlight for investors like us what mindsets are actually critical in today's age of uncertainty and noise? What kind of mindset should we shift towards? If you can help throw some light upon that.
Well, the most important mindset is being patient. I mean, really being patient is the key word. Focused and patient are the two most important mindsets that you should apply as an investor. Besides that, I think the whole world and the market and the way we live with the social media and the way we communicate with each other is very much fast communication. It's a very much day-to-day, minute-to-minute communication. And I think the mindset of simply sitting for yourself, thinking long-term, forcing yourself to close down everything around you, give yourself peace, read a book or whatever you want, an annual report or whatever, just sit there for maybe 3-4 hours, just being alone for 3 or 4 hours, thinking and reading. And then when you're done with that, write down your conclusions. What did I learn with myself for these 3 or 4 hours? Those are some of the things where your mindset should be. Long-term thinking, think for yourself, and patience, focused.
That was insightful. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Can we have Jyoti Barlia for the next question, please?
Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Yeah, so you talked about being disciplined around hurdle rate. So my question is, did you ever had to pass a great company because it was not fitting in your hurdle rate criteria?
I do that every day,
Okay.
every single day. The way I work, just to elaborate on that, or spend 2 minutes on that,
Yeah,
I
that would be nice.
I try to find the great companies in the Nordic region where I live, which is Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Iceland. And then I have a couple of other European countries where I feel comfortable investing, one of them being UK. Another one is the Netherlands. And once I've had an investment in Italy, but I'm investing inside Europe and focused on the Nordic region. That's my geographical circle of competence. So in the Nordic region, I follow about 70 companies. Maybe 50, 55 of them are what I consider great companies with high return on capital, good management, but most of them are too expensive all the time. So they don't pass my hurdle rate. I would like to own them, but I don't because I can't get the returns on my money that I demand. Once in a while, for whatever reason, one of these companies drop down in price and then it becomes investable for me. But some of the companies I have followed since 2009 and they have never been cheap enough for me. The last 15 companies out of my 70 companies that I follow because they are in industries that are kind of good to follow because you get a lot of trend information, industrial information, like the beverage industry, like the food industry, like some of the basic industrial industries. I simply follow these companies to understand the mega trends in some of the areas I invest in. And of course, I also follow. If I have invested in one company, I follow 2 of the 3 closest competitors just to see how they track against each other and so on. So yes, I have passed on a lot of great companies because they were too expensive. And
Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah.
I would like to just add one thing. Some of my biggest mistakes have been not following my hurdle rate, and
Okay.
meaning that I invested even though the company was too expensive. And the way I triggered my mind, or I tricked my mind, or I fooled myself was actually that if you want a 10% real return on your money over time, and you only get, let's say, 6% at the moment, what do you do to cheat on yourself? You tell yourself that the growth rate in the next 5, 10 years will be higher than it really is. So
Okay.
you will end up with a higher return on your money than, you know, and then the growth doesn't show up, or it doesn't show up at the level that you expected. But if you're honest to yourself, you know that you kind of put a little bit of too optimistic number on the growth
Right.
rate, so it all figure out. And I paid the price, and if you do that, you get creamed, and you deserve to get creamed. And that's I mean, you take your beating not with a smile, but with loss of money. That's how it is.
Thank you for the advice, Peter. Thank you.
Can we have Shraddha Podar for the next question, please?
Hi, Peter. So there's a concept Bhagavad Gita talks about ideal me versus actual me. So I would like to ask you, what is one concept investors understand intellectually but fail to apply in reality?
Well, I think a lot of investors actually say that they think independently, and they make up their own mind, and they are um, ignorant to the market. And I think I'm just pulling the figure out of the air. I think 95% of all investors are actually very influenced by the market. So they are not honest to themselves deep down that they are independent thinking. And you can see what happens every time uh, we have something big going on. People try to time the market. They start doing something else. They stop investing because they become afraid. So really being independent of the market movements and the market influence is probably the thing that a lot of people say that they are. I mean, I'm king of the castle. I can do everything. I can master the market. But at the end of the day, I would say very few investors are actually totally independent of the market. And then the next question should be, are you 100% independent of the market, Peter? No,
Yes, please.
no,
Okay.
I'm not. I really, really also from time to time struggle to be independent of the market. And you know where it's the most difficult part of me is, of course, when the market really goes sour and things go down, and I have excess money to invest at that point. Really just go in and invest. But I become better and better over the years. I'm not perfect.
Thank you for this reality check for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can we have Sweta Sachdev for the next question, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Meghna. Peter, in one of your recent interviews, you said a journalist digs for information to build a story, and an investor digs into the company, the industry, and the management to build an investment case. So, which role did you enjoy more, Peter, being a financial journalist or an investor?
The role I enjoyed the most was being a business owner. And there's a reason for that, that you the difference that's different from being a journalist or an investor. When you're a business owner, you have the final responsibility. You cannot tell everybody that there was somebody else who was the reason why I screwed up or I did something bad. You have the final decision as a business owner. It's your call. It's you who can celebrate when things go right, and it's you who have to take the responsibility if things go wrong. I really like that position. That makes me feel good about who I am and what I see myself as. I want to be responsible. When you're a journalist, you can always write a story and say whatever it is. And when you're an investor, you can always blame the company or the management or somebody else. There's always somebody else who is possibly the reason why something went wrong. You cannot do that as an investor.
That's a good answer. Yeah. Thank you.
Can we have Rachna Prasad for the last question, please?
Hi, Peter. Peter, when we visited Omaha in 2019, there was a 13-year-old who was talking about instant gratification.
Sure.
So my question to you will be like this, you mentioned that this time you'll be taking your daughter to Omaha. So what do you think about the next gen? One side talking about instant gratification, on the other side being a long-term investor. Your views on it, Peter.
Thank you. Good question. And before I answer it, just please, Magna,
Yes.
if somebody has not been able to ask a question that they want to ask me, you have my email address, and you
Yes.
can let everybody who wants
Surely.
to ask a question just send me a question, and I'll answer it over the coming days or weeks, if that's okay with you guys.
Very kind of you, Peter. Surely I'll share
You're
your
welcome.
email. Thank you.
Long-term thinking and instant gratification. Is it impossible to have both?
I don't think so.
No, because in some areas of your life, it is absolutely a good thing to want instant gratification. And in some areas of your life, it is absolutely terrible if you want instant gratification.
Absolutely.
So I think the way of thinking about these two extremities is it depends on what part of your life you're in and what we are talking about. I think it's absolutely okay in some areas of your life to be focusing on getting what you want as fast as possible. And in other areas of your life, you should really focus on the long-term thinking.
Right.
And especially when you're talking about investments. I mean, if you are in for instant gratification when you are investing, you are not investing, you're speculating. You want the big lottery reward, and you want it to go fast, and you want to get rich as fast as possible. It doesn't work that way, at least not for 99.9% of all people. And of course, it also has to do with the generation that we have, the young generation now, and the way they are raised, and the way, and that's coming back to social media and other things like that. What I do with my granddaughter is that I ask her open-ended questions about what is the most important thing for her. And for most people today, and I guess it was the same when I was young, I think a lot of young people want recognition, and they
Yeah,
want to
absolutely.
be
Absolutely.
recognized. That's also what they do at social media. And recognition is, as I see it, also something that's very, very important that parents actually give their kids. So part of helping the young generation coping with the world is, as parents, that you give them good recognition, that you help them grow, you help them understand that it's important to live up to their own objectives, and by doing that, they give self-respect, and through self-respect, you get self-esteem and so on. I think the whole world is moving towards instant gratification in many different ways that are not very healthy. We have to help the young generation. We have to help them. And hopefully one day when we get old, they will help us.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thanks
Yeah.
for your invaluable views.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing your time, insights, and experiences with us. And this has truly been an enriching session. I now invite our Jaipur chapter president, Shilpi Khandelwal, for the VOT. 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 .
。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
Thank you, Meghna. Yeah. Thank you, Meghna. Good afternoon, Peter. On behalf of Millennial Mams, I wish to extend my heartiest gratitude for this highly insightful and enlightening session we have had the privilege to attend today. It was an honor to gain guidance from an accomplished business investor. The perspectives you shared on investment strategies, market analysis, and prudent decision making were both instructive and inspiring. Your ability to articulate complex concepts with clarity and practical relevance greatly enhanced our understanding. We are especially grateful for the time you dedicated to addressing all our questions. Your thoughtful and comprehensive responses not only clarified our doubts, but also provided valuable insights that will inform our future endeavors. We deeply appreciate your generosity in sharing your expertise and experiences. This session has left a lasting impression on all of us and will undoubtedly contribute to our professional growth. Thank you once again for this enriching and enlightening session. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.